Good afternoon. My name is Cadet David Lee,
My name is Cadet Esther Kang.
and today we'll be providing you with a brief and recommendations with regard to COVID-19 and Starbucks.
So first, we'll be talking about the current status of the coronavirus outbreak. So this graph shows how many cases there has been overall in the United States per month. And as you can see, from March till April, the number of cases has increased exponentially. And the number of cases also shown by date on the top right of this graph. And this leaflet map shows how many cases there have been by respective state. So if you hover over a state such as Montana, you have 453 cases compared to California, which has 52,000 cases. So how deadly is the virus? So this graph adds on to the previous graph by adding another line for the number of deaths overall in the United States. And as you can see, the number of deaths has also been increasing, maybe not as exponentially and at a lower rate than the number of cases, but it also has been increasing constantly with no signs of decreasing or even being stagnant. So this leaflet map shows you, or it colors each state based on how many deaths there were due to COVID and not only the number of cases in each state. And so as you can see in this legend on the bottom right, the darker the state, the higher number of deaths. So for example, California, New York, Florida, and the Great Lakes states, these all have a burgundy color, meaning they have the highest number of deaths due to coronavirus, while states such as Wyoming and Montana that have a light yellow color and brighter are states that have a low number of cases or low number of deaths due to corona. And Wyoming so far is the state with the lowest number of deaths at 7 deaths. And this map adds on to the previous leaflet map as it has the points for each Starbucks location in the entire United States. And not so surprisingly, each state that has a highest number, or the burgundy color states with the highest number of deaths, actually have the highest number of Starbucks locations. And they're also very densely located and close to one another. As you can see in California, they're all close to each other as a clump near the coast. And in New York, you can also see that along the coast, there's also densely located Starbucks locations.
Here in this leaflet plot, we can see specific locations to Starbucks as the previous one, but here we can click each respective blue dot and see both the zip code as well as the city and state of each Starbucks location. This allows us to understand not only where Starbucks locations are specifically, but help guide us as to our recommendations as to which locations should remain open, closed, or have 25% takeout. Here in this visual representation of text mining all 50 states' recommendations on restaurant openings, we can see that some states are still on statewide restaurant restrictions, which essentially means that they cannot open, and then some are lifting their restrictions. So here we understand that there are some states that are now lifting restrictions as to when or how restaurants can conduct business, with recommendations of maintaining social distancing. Rolled and risked. For rolled is up to the discretion of either the city or the county as to when a restaurant can open. It is rolled in nature. And then risk is where high risk groups are not allowed to congregate out in social settings such as restaurants. So such as people with risk to coronavirus, such as older people or those with pre-existing conditions.
And looking back at this Starbucks map, aligning with the number of deaths, we would, based on the color of the state, determine whether we can actually, based on the color of the state, determine whether we should open, close, or restrict each store. So we recommend that states that are at 1,000 deaths or higher should definitely close or shut down their stores for now, while stores that are, or not stores, states that have deaths ranging from 0 to 50. So these states right here, they should continue to open their Starbucks locations, because as you can see, the Starbucks locations are not even as dense as in California, New York, and Florida. So and they're more spread out throughout the state. So they they wouldn't be that much of a harm or risk. While states that have deaths between 50 to 1,000, they can have a high risk and should, in order to be careful or prevent like further contamination or spread between people, it would be best to place restrictions on those Starbucks locations.
Here to gain a specific understanding as to which states have which restrictions, we have this plot right here, which is in tabular format to understand which specific states have restrictions. So as you can see, for example, Alabama has lifted their restrictions. So we would recommend both now and in the future, based off those restrictions to which the state has on their restaurants, that will determine how a state, or rather Starbucks in those states, should operate. As Cadet Kang mentioned, some locations are in states with high numbers of deaths that will most likely correspond with their restrictions on restaurants. For example, New York is still on a statewide lockdown, and they are also in new red, which indicates that the Starbucks locations in that state should remain closed. Whereas states such as Alabama are in the rather middle range and are lifting the restrictions. For those states, they should be allowed to open with the emphasis on social distancing. For the other states within that range, they should be at takeout. This is our works cited page where we have both our data sets utilized as well as the sources used to help construct the Flex dashboard. That concludes our presentation. My name is Cadet Lee.
And my name is Cadet Kang.